Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, I have some point check for you. Why do you never see piece of the paper at bodybuilder competitions?
I don't know.
Because they wouldn't have to get shredded. It wasn't funny. I have better. Where do you bodybuilder get grocery?
The market.
Swallow food. What's funny? Come on, man.
Almost.
Come on, man. I have better. I promise you, you're laughing for this.
All right.
How did the bodybuilding dinosaur die?
Extinction.
Steroid overdose.
All right, man. I'm done.
Come on, man.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Generation Iron Podcast. Your host, me, Victor Martinez, Esam Farahi. Thanks for joining us back again here.
I'm back.
Vlad Yudin and Edwin Mejia. All right, what do we have this time around?
Ever since we started making this announcement about submitting the questions for you, there's been a lot of positive feedback and people are really submitting the questions. So if you guys want Victor here to answer your question, type it up in the comments, and the best one gets what?
Gets a full case of Redcon 1 Energy.
There you go.
You know, we're going to be drinking these today.
Oh my
So
God, it's so delicious.
there's so many flavors now, so everybody's...
The taste, it's really good, guys.
Yeah, so we highly recommend you guys try them, not because they're sponsoring Generation Iron, but obviously they're the only energy drink I've been drinking in the last couple months. and it's
You don't
helping me
get
out.
sick. You drink them, you don't get sick. You know,
Yeah, you don't get sick. You don't get
the most
that.
important thing is Victor picks your question.
Yes.
You get a case of it. And this week's winner is a guy named David Zamora. Now, this is picked by you. I'm going to read it,
Yes.
for the audience, but this is David made a post, and you picked his question. So he gets the case of Redcon 1, and now we're going to read the question. So my question is concerning dosing. So David is a steroid user, I assume, right? Because dosing. So he's saying here, I've been doing a lot of reading on microdosing every day as opposed to shots every other day or twice a week. I would really like a deep dive into microdosing. I'm assuming it's talking about steroids, right?
Yes.
Not like
not
drugs.
shrooms,
Not
not
mushroom.
ecstasy, right? Not acid.
I've been doing it for about 3 months, and it's been less of a roller coaster ride with my hormones due to keeping stable levels. Can we please try to have a good conversation pertaining to micro versus other methods? Thanks, guys, and keep it killing it.
Okay, now that question is open-ended only because he doesn't state his age, how long he's been using, or, did he just come off steroids. So just assuming all those things are covered. Microdosing, again, it's the way your body breaks down the steroids. That's why this day and age, that's why you have TRT is getting so popular, because TRT, they're lowering the milligrams to about 80 to 100 milligrams. And again, the smaller amounts, more frequent, it keeps your body more anabolic. And it's, again, depending on the person, it can have a great effect on you where your body is constantly feeling the effects of the steroids being broken down in your body, in your system. Now, again, a lot of times this happens, you took, either too much at one point, never did your post-steroid cycle, and you crash. So microdosing keeps that from happening. Now, doing that, the only downfall is you're gonna have to always continue using it, because now you're doing a certain amount, and if you skip certain amounts, certain days, you're gonna experience the crash. So microdosing is not as bad. Side effects are very minimal. You still get them, you can avoid them. It's a steroid again. So hair loss, the pimples, the acne, mood swings can still happen. Microdosing is very popular.
He's saying it's better on his hormones, right? That's good. That hormones, I guess.
Yeah, and again, because when you have the steroids, you're taking a certain amount, and let's say you're doing them weekly. Now, once you get to the fifth day, depending on the amount also, so I'm just, let's assume he's doing 100 milligrams, that usual amount. By the time you get to the fifth day or week, your body could be not, as anabolic. So you will use a certain amount, smaller amount, more frequent, and it keeps your body more anabolic. Your hormones are not all over the place, and it keeps a somewhat balance in your system. But a lot of times when this crashes is when you do amounts of 500 to 1,000, and that's competitive amounts. If you're not competing, refrain from using that amount, or you have a certain age, obviously, never condone any teenagers. And if you're not competing, why bother? If you're not training as hard, you're just taking more steroids than your body needs. And that's gonna lead to a big crash in your system. Microdosing is helpful, is safer. You can use it for a much longer period of time. And again, it will lower a lot of the side effects, any damage that it can cause to the body, your liver, your kidney, and so forth. So microdosing is very, again, effective, and it can work. Now, choose the steroid wisely. If you are going to microdose, I would suggest anywhere doing anything like an anthate instead of the fast-acting ones, propionates or the cypionates. Again, that's why you staying active, working out, and you will most likely not lose too much muscle, and you will, sustain a good amount of active testosterone in your system.
Did you suggest that to use estrogen blocker with microdosing?
You still should use estrogen blocker. Again, you don't want it to aromatize. It still could happen with a certain amount. Some guys can microdose and they'll grow as big as somebody who's doing 200 to 400 milligrams based on their genetics. Now, is that gonna be the equivalent to anybody else using it? No, again, genetics play a big role in this. And again, as a person that's just gonna dabble into microdosing to be a little safer in the ballpark, I would say don't worry about size and anything. You know what, you're feeling good. You're not feeling your attitude or anything, your mood swings, anything of the sorts. Just keep going. At the end of the day, it's about keeping enough muscle mass where you're not getting, looking like crap.
Yeah.
And again, burning body fat and eating healthy. Please don't just
clean.
Yeah, don't just microdose and still eat like crap. You still have to maintain a balanced diet.
You mean
a good diet.
I cannot eat pizza with microdosing.
Listen, I always have an excuse to eat pizza.
So David, remember, this is not a medical advice. This is just Victor's experience.
Yeah, this is just through my experience, through clients and people that I've known that have done so, and also a few people I know that are in TRT and they love the way it feels. Again, they're not getting as much water retention. Microdosing, because of the milligrams, is so low, and it's very effective. Again, so you can be functional, work out, and have your everyday life without having that crash.
How long take it time to that person using microdose to see the result?
I mean,
1 week, first week, second month.
Again, if you never use, the results could be within the first month. Now if you're having a certain amount of anywhere of the 400 or 500, that's when you're going to experience the difference, because your body's already used to that high amount. So I would suggest, if you are using that amount and you want to microdose, I would say taper down to that amount. And don't worry about losing 5 or 10 pounds, because eventually you're going to settle at a weight that when you microdose, you're going to sustain that same weight and keep it balanced.
So David, you're the winner. You get the case of Redcon 1. And guys, if you want your question to be answered, submit it in the comments. It's good.
That's perfect.
I like that. I like the new thing that we're doing with engage some people. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
good, man. Again, I try to answer most of the questions.
There's a lot of them, man. There's a lot of questions.
To my abilities.
This is a real question.
Yeah.
You know, it comes from
All right, so let's
someone.
talk about this topic here. Now, Tom Platt, there's a video of Tom Platt circulating online, right? I don't think it's a new video, but I guess it's been making some rounds on social media. So Tom Platt, everybody knows Tom Platt.
Of course, Golden Eagle,
Golden Eagle, there you go.
Quadzilla, original
Quadzilla.
Quadzilla.
So the video, I'm going to read it verbatim, actually. So Tom Platts made a statement in the video that he spent no more than $300 on the steroids for each of the Olympia prep. And he
Who was the
specified-
president that moment in time?
Huh?
Who was the president that moment in time?
President?
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
So he
Jimmy
competed.
Carter.
Yes.
Oh,
Everything was cheap that moment in time.
So Tom Platts competed from in the 80s. He competed from like 79 until 86 or something. In Olympia,
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
In Olympias
Yeah.
specifically. So he said no more than $300 on steroids for each of the Olympia prep, and he specified he took 100 milligrams on the DECA shots per week. He took 100 milligrams of DECA shots per week and 20 grams of Winstrol pills per day. That's all he said in that video. So, what do you guys think about
This
that?
is the cycle for Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, that's how much he spent, $300, and that's his cycle that he specified.
Wow.
It seems very low. Vic, I'm not an expert, but it seems very low.
100 milligrams of Winstrol. But no, you said how many?
20
20 grams
milligrams.
of Winstrol pills per day and
Yeah.
100 milligrams of DECA shots per week.
Well, for one thing, that would explain why he was so soft on stage, you know.
Whoa, that's major shade
but
right
it's
there,
Tom
bro.
Platts, it's not shade. It's like, listen, the only
It's a
thing
fact.
Tom Platts lacked was just condition. Now, when you calculate at the time, I mean,
That's gonna be by the way, that's gonna be the headline, bro. Tom Platts was soft by Victor Martin.
No, he was soft. Now you're doing Winstrol, which is, you know, again, is just, you know, is a steroid, but it's gonna have low, you know, androgenic effect. And now you're doing DECA now,
Deca, you
which now you're gonna go into DECA. Meaning
it's
you
not-
can beat that shit with a sledgehammer, you'll never get a hard on. So most
Especially
likely,
with Venestrol. I mean, it's both together. It's really.
well, listen, guys,
so
you don't
when
want to
you-
have babies, use those two drugs, and that's it. You know, my example, just flat out. That's what I'm going to tell you, you know.
You're gonna get some major beef with Tom Platts right now, bro.
No, nothing about Tom Platts. I like Tom Platts. Who doesn't like Tom Platts, you know? But at the end of the day, now you're looking at $300. Back then,
That's what I'm saying. So it's inflation, obviously, right?
yeah, inflation. You look at each ampule, because at that time it was mostly ampule, which is like, I would have to say the best quality, you know, type of and form of steroids. The ampules is just higher quality, factory made, not made in somebody's bathroom. You know, so he's probably paying $2 to $4 an ampule. So
Right.
that's still, you know, not bad. You probably get about 150 ampules. You know, and that's on DECA, but DECA alone.
Why DECA? Why
you
not-
hold a lot of water in DECA, so it's kind
Why
of.
he's not taking perpetuates with the Venestrol? It's perfect for show.
Well, probably the DECA because he did do a lot of squats. He was
He wants
on
the power.
high reps. He was on
He's
high
known
reps.
for his legs, yeah?
Yes.
He was known for his
Yeah,
legs.
he was high reps, and DECA is like one of the best things for your joints. So other than that, and then the Winstrol to get tight, you know what? You can still get tight because
It's very hard to get tight.
I had a friend, man. I'm telling you, this guy did one Winstrol, 50 milligrams a week, and he cracked the show dieting only for 4 weeks.
Wow.
He will win shows. And again, that was based on his genetics.
Yeah.
But I think what these old school guys, like Tom Platts, I consider him an old school guy, right? In
Yes.
the 80s, right? They all make it seem like they did very little steroids. That's
did
a very
little,
general.
The quality was just better.
So less, but
The
more
quality
medical.
was better. I always hear this time and time again. The guys use D-ball, they use tests, and it was like 2 cc's, 1 cc a week, and they got huge. And I witnessed it.
I think because it was leader, they don't have access to Primoblon. Primoblon doesn't exist at moment in time.
Primo-
Or Tren, you know.
Yeah, no, I think they had trend. I think it was called something else back then.
Yeah, my point is they don't have access to so many different categories of the testosterone.
Yeah.
Right now we have, 10, 11 different type of the testosterone.
I think it was Finaplex back then.
Finaplex. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Finaplex.
Is a trend Finaplex?
Yeah, it was straight. You had to go to somebody's barn and jack it from like freaking, you know.
Vic, from the experience of competing in, obviously, you competed in late 90s, 2000s, right?
Oh, not, I mean,
2000s.
late
Let's say
90s was like my
2000s.
19 years old. Yeah,
Right. But let's say 2000s, right?
Yeah.
on average, how much would you say a pro bodybuilder has to spend on steroids for the Olympia prep? Like an average. Minimum, yeah.
If you're gonna show up a bit mediocre, you know,
Men's Open.
Mr. Olympia
Men's
Open
open, no,
category,
men's open only, yeah.
40,000.
40,000?
no,
What
no,
the?
right. You know what? I mean, the first one I
On
did
one contest?
So you
Yes.
go bankrupt basically.
Vic, is this true?
So you go. So
no,
these
'cause
athletes
the
are going
first one
bankrupt.
I did only
So
cost me.
Victor
hold on,
is the
hold on,
wrong
hold on.
person because he's a good genetics, you know. He has a
No,
good
but
genetics.
everybody in Mr. Olympia has good genetics, bro. Come on, Vic.
I'm
Vic,
talking
what-
about I'm talking about Titus. Titus is 40,000,
Oh my
50,000.
No,
Vic, it's not-
That's
No.
a lot, man. Unless you're doing, you're doing peptides, you're doing, you're also doing, obviously GH will drive up the cost
That's what I'm talking
because
about.
GH you're looking at at least, 1,000, to
But Vic, what's
$1,500
the
a month.
average
Yes.
spend on
Rough.
Olympia prep for a
The
pro?
average on a budget,
Yeah.
and that's again, you're
rough
focusing
range.
on hard training. You can go as little as $5,000.
So 5 is the minimum.
$5,000.
Wow.
5,000.
What's the maximum?
Maximum? I mean, you're
40,000.
going all out.
40,000.
I mean, if you got that, aqua time release testosterone, not testosterone, GH,
GH.
man, you're looking at.
GH is expensive. It depends on how much GH during that.
So wait, from 5,000 to 40, that's
It
the
can go to about as high as 15 grand.
15. Oh, not 40, it's 15.
Yeah, not 40.
Not 40?
Yeah, and again, it all varies. Who's your connect? You got a good connect. Again, you're paying $4 an ampere, or you're paying $18 an ampere. That changes.
You pay more for juice or for food? Which one is more
Food.
I would say food.
food?
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
How much you spending for food?
food, man.
You're eating 6 times a day. I mean, you're definitely selling more.
So
money.
is
per week about $500 to $800 a week.
So 5,000 to 15,000. I mean, this is not
It's
even close
nothing.
to what this guy, Tom Platts was.
Well,
Oh,
Tom
no,
Platt said
yeah.
he never took he never took testosterone, and then he said that he actually said that the women competing took more than he did. That's a direct
So
quote.
is he just
from him.
a most amazing specimen?
He's just, again, genetic freak. But that amount, man, it's like, I mean, even with inflation right now, I mean, that $300 will still get him up to, what, a couple of thousand?
Well,
less?
he
Probably that-
credits
yeah.
himself for not dabbing too much, because that has allowed him to create more consistency, longevity with his health.
And he's still alive,
And he I mean, these are direct quotes from him. So he's actually speaking out about it and saying that a lot of bodybuilders today have a lot of problems because they dabble too much into it.
They dabble a lot into it, but then, they wanted to win. They wanted to win. I think Tom Platts, I think the only injury he had was, what, a torn bicep or something?
Yeah.
Right, that I know of, or what he has told everyone. I think that's the only injury. And again, he was just, genetically gifted with the quads. He had a smaller clavicle. He wasn't as wide. Again, that probably, could that have been him underdosing, not taking enough steroids? I don't know. But you look at Tom Platts, the only thing, when I look at him, it's, he said he never used GH, but you look at his jaw, I'm like, I look like a GH jaw to me, but
So
again,
is Tom
genetics-
Platts, I guess the
genetics.
question for everybody here is Tom Platts lying about how much he spent and what he took?
That's a little far-fetched to say he's lying, because again, I have seen guys use like 1 cc every couple of weeks, and they have gotten huge. And I mean, when I started, I'll have to say I didn't use that much myself. I think my joke was I got ready on Cypionate and creatine, for my first show. And again, I won, but I was training way harder than ever before, than anybody in the gym. And so I didn't rely too much on the steroids. I relied a lot more on my intensity in the training and showing up to the gym 6 days a week, even though I was burning out. But the psychology of me just showing up and killing myself, overtraining, I have not read that article yet, so I didn't really think about it. It wasn't on my mindset, I would just train to a point that until I saw that detail. So you pulverize your body to a certain point, and I don't think guys train this hard now. And to say Tom Platts is lying is a little, you can't really say that because again, back then the product was way better. a lot of it was being made at a smaller scale, so the quality was, it was up there. It was level 10.
Yeah, I think Tom Platts, I know he's part of the golden era of bodybuilders, but it was like right before the mass monsters truly came in, which is obviously Dorian and all those guys, right? So you can make the argument that he actually has a point. You could believe it's believable, right? This guy in the
But to not use testosterone, he didn't mention any testosterone there, so I don't know if
That and anywhere I told him mention in that video. I'm saying.
yeah,
I haven't seen other videos.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I'll gather is if you're only using Winstrol and Deca, that would shut down your sex drive. Because Winstrol is not going to keep your test levels high, and Deca is just going to, you need a form of test to kind of complement those two esters.
What is the most expensive, from what the most expensive steroid on the market right now?
I don't know. Let me Google that. Let me see.
Ask AI. Ask AI.
Oh, it just popped up. Yeah, I think it's Primo. Primo will probably be it.
What's Primo? What is it used for?
Primo is to tighten up. It's one of the safest hardening. Yes, methylene and anthate.
Is that why it's most expensive? Because it's safe?
Yeah, it's safe.
Safer.
Well, the compound also is way more expensive. So even if you buy Winstrol, Primobolan from a pharmacy, let's say anywhere in Colombia, they'll have it. It's like 1 cc is like $20.
That's how much it costs, Primo.
Yeah, it's $20.
1 cc, $20.
Yeah,
That's one dose, right?
One dose, one
Wow.
cc, $20, 100 milligrams.
So you have to go. There are probably cheaper places to go to.
Well, there is cheaper. Now you go to Mexico, you get that bootleg 10 cc vial. You're paying $50 for it. You're gonna get what you pay for.
Or
If you're going to Iran, you can
You're
find
probably
it for a
getting
cent.
about 25 milligrams as opposed to a pure 100. So that's why you wind up taking more oil as opposed to less.
Because they mix it, they cut it with the oil, yeah?
Well, they cut everything in Mexico, man. They cut the Coke and cut the juice too, man. Watch out what you buy from there. Right now, the best thing you could buy in Mexico is still right now the Ready Jacks for Sasanon 250. They come preloaded in the syringe. It's still, allegedly.
allegedly.
Everything we say here is alleged, by the way.
Yeah,
don't
think
take
the
nothing.
Fed-
None of this is
watching here,
deemed
the
as
Fed's
legal
watching,
or
helping out.
drug advice.
Yeah, again,
We're turning into a drug podcast.
I know, right? We're not your pushers, guys. All right.
Well, we'll be in Mexico soon, and we're actually going to go behind the scenes. We might go into underground places. Hopefully, we don't get kidnapped, but we're going to go into Mexico, and we're going to get all this content for you guys, and you're going to see it in person.
Well, the only thing that's going to happen here is somebody's going to create a profile with my picture, and they're going to try to assume that they're pushing juice now and stuff.
So if
And that's happened, so don't fall for it, guys.
If
all right?
Primo
Don't
is the
fall
most
for it.
expensive steroid on the market, what's like the most basic, not expensive?
The most basic, any testosterones.
It's cheap.
Well, obviously, the crack of steroids.
Right.
Trend.
It's expensive.
Trombone.
Get some trend for like $20, man.
20 for one dose.
No,
Oh.
for like a 10 cc vial, man.
10,
Oh.
10 cc, yeah.
10 cc vial.
It's like
which
$1, $2 per.
crack is cheap too.
That's
man.
why everyone in the gym using it. For kids 19, 18 years old started using it.
I'm telling you, there's gonna be
cheap.
less babies coming in the future, man. Thanks to trend,
Why? That also makes you.
Yeah, they kill your sex
you
drive.
get the
They
limp-
kill your
that
balls,
also
actually.
kills your sex drive also.
You get a
Which,
limp.
in addition to Deca and Winstrol.
Yup,
Mm-hmm.
yup. You're gonna limp it. Not even crutches are gonna help.
It's
it.
actually stronger. They're stronger than Winstrol and Deca.
Wow.
Yeah. Side effect wise, they're stronger.
So what have we learned today? That basically a pro bodybuilder has to spend between 5 to 15 grand on Olympia prep.
Again,
And I
now
definitely
with the
don't want to take
research.
those drugs.
I mean, again, it's how much you want to, build, where you want to look, where's that freaky look you want to take it to the next level, I mean, you're not going to just take the same dose as Tom Platts did back in the days. One, the drugs are way more expensive. Two, guys are training on machines more. They go to the gym less frequently. So it's just one of those things that, and also GH. Now everybody's using GH. When
Yeah.
Tom Platts was competing at his prime, I think they only had the cadaver GH back then. And that stuff was astronomically expensive back then. You know, so fast forward now, you know, if you know somebody that might have AIDS, you could probably cop some cheap GH from them because
Has what?
good old government is paying for it.
Is it AIDS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody that has AIDS or any
They get GH.
kids with a stunted growth, you know. Just-
Don't they need the GH?
Doesn't let your muscle goes down. Basically.
listen, times are hard, man. People rather, you know,
I'd rather die of AIDS than
you know, live one more year or get the money and, you know, have some more fun. But
Wait, before we wrap up for today, so so that's men's open we're talking about. Spends this much.
Yes.
So what about like if you go to men's physique, how much you think they spend?
men's physique are probably spending the same amount or
Same
probably
amount.
even
I
more
thought they were
because these
natural.
guys are getting huge, man.
I thought they were.
Yes.
I thought they were natural.
What's going on with the men's physique, bro? They become like a 2-on-2 category.
These guys they could do
Huge.
men's physique and they could just switch on and put on the classic physique shorts and do classic at the same time, man.
Oh, easily.
Easily. No, these guys again, they're building massive backs and legs and they're just getting bigger, you know. Why? Because you're still gonna build muscle. You're taking the product and you're training hard. And guess what? Once you get a feel of that weight and you felt like, man, that's light, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go heavier. When you go heavier,
mean,
what
it's-
happens?
You're growing.
You get bigger.
Yeah, for those that are in not in the bodybuilding industry, they don't see the difference. But like we've been around bodybuilding, we produced the Olympia and the Arnold Classic for a couple of years, and we saw how we would see guys like Steve Cook on stage, Jeremy Buendia, to where you see Brandon Hendrickson and these guys that look great, but they're much bigger, and it's a big difference. You
They're
see the
getting
difference. now.
bigger, they're getting larger, and they're usually training themselves out of the category. That happened. I've seen it happen even with bikini girls.
Do you think this is the problem for athlete or judges? Because judges pick who is the number 1, 2, 3.
It's probably both.
Well, it's both. There's going to be a problem with the athlete that's training for this category, and they're training too hard where they don't meet the right criteria to win that category. Because one, they're too big. You know, they don't have an aesthetic flow. You know, and then the judges, they already know what they have to judge on, and the judges are going to bypass them.
Right.
And when they choose somebody smaller than them, they're going to say, well, what happened? Well, you got too big, you know.
Right,
so
right,
that's what's going to start happening. And I think that started happening with women bodybuilding at one point, where the biggest one I think it was back in those days, I remember Corey Everson, and then you had Beth Francis. Beth Francis was huge. You know, it was pleasing to look at, but the judges were like, man, she's too big.
Yeah.
You know, so back then, even though it was called women bodybuilding, that was more like women's physique.
Today,
You know,
if you were to compare it.
Yeah. We're gonna compare it.
How much do you think women spend on steroids?
Women, nothing, because their boyfriends are buying it for them.
All right.
Guys, thank you for joining us on this week's podcast. You want to see any of our prior podcasts? Please tune in to iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you stream your podcasts. Until next time.